Hello. Thank you for joining us for yet another one of our presentations on the Activate Eagle system. Today we're going to look at viewers. The viewers are the most powerful tool we have on the Eagle, and I'd like to show you some of the reasons I say that. So I'm going to flip over to the Eagle system, and just to get to the viewer, I'm going to go into Inventory Maintenance. Now I can go to the viewers from my master file, and from this point on, what you're going to see me do in the viewers, I can do in most any file in the system. Since I'm in inventory, I'm going to see inventory products. If I were in my customer list, I would see the same type of viewer, but with customer information. So I'm in inventory, and I'm an inventory control person, and I want to look at the value I have in my Cardone line, which I have set up as line AA1. So I'm going to enter AA1, and the information that's been populated in the viewer are different fields from the master inventory record. Now this looks like a spreadsheet. It looks like we just have columns, and that's correct. Here's how I decide what columns I'm going to view. I'm going to right-click on any header, go down to the Select Columns to View, and here's a listing of all the fields from the master inventory record that I could choose to display on my screen within the view. So as you can see, it may not be every field I have in inventory, but it's a very large percentage. So I'm going to change what we're going to see here on the screen, because we talked about I want to see what my inventory value is. Well, I'm going to clean it up. I don't care about the location of the manufacturer. So I can unselect or deselect the item by clicking. So I've clicked off the fields that I didn't feel I needed to see, but I do want to get the value of my inventory. I already have quantity on hand, and I'm going to evaluate that inventory at average cost. Now I could pull my scroll bar down and I could look for average cost, or I can hit the letter A and it'll scoot down the list till I come up with my average cost. Now I'm just going to click on it, and I think I'll get my actual GP as well. So I click on those two fields of information and hit Apply. And that quickly my screen is cleaned up and said, here's what you wanted to see. Now this looks fine, except for that actual GP is kind of in the way. I can click and drag. I click on the column, move it off to the side. It kind of looks a little bit like Excel if you've worked with Excel. It's very easy to move things around, put them where you like to see them. Okay, so now I have quantity on hand, my average cost, and to get that value I need to take the quantity on hand times the cost, but I don't have a field in my inventory record that tells me that. So I'm going to right-click on the column again, and this time I'm going to go to this column selection and insert a column. Now here's where, if many of you have worked with Excel, you know that there's all sorts of formulas that you can put into the system, but we kind of made our viewers a little easier to use than that. I don't even have to really know how to put the formula together, because we've gone ahead and listed a lot of the most commonly used formulas right here on the screen. So if I wanted to see the total or the product of, I'm going to take the product of my quantity on hand and my average cost. And I'm going to call that column value. So now the system is going through doing the math for me, and when it's done, it's listing that value here in the column. Now I'm going to fuss it up a little bit, so I'm going to right-click on that header, go back to the column, but tell it let's customize it. And I can choose how many decimal places I want it to go out to. I could do some justification in it, change the title. But now I have the value in this column. Now this is nice to see, but I wanted to see the total. So I'm going to right-click on the column again and choose that it gives me a quick total. So now when I scroll to the bottom of the viewer, I see that I have $42,800 worth of inventory value. So I didn't go and run a report. I didn't have to wait for the system to process. I said, this is what I want to see, show it to me now. Now I like this format, and I'm thinking I may want to check 5, 6, 7 other lines because I'm kind of looking around here in my inventory. I don't have to build this format every time I want to see it. I can go up and save the view. With all my columns involved, with everything that's in there, give it a name that I like to give it so that it's quick for me to find it and pull it up. And I can reuse that viewer over and over and over again. So I can really streamline the time that it takes me to what used to take for me to print out the report, take a look at it, and then pitch the report, because I only really needed to see one number. I can do it right here on the screen, and with a snap of the fingers, I'm getting the information I need to see. But I'm not done with it yet. I see that I have these values out here. I saw what the amount was. One of the things that we tend to gravitate towards here at Activent is streamlining your processes, managing by exception. You don't have the time to look at every line in every part in this line. We need to look at the exceptions. So here's a way the viewer can help you look for those one-offs. I'm going to go to quantity on hand. When I double-click on the column heading, it automatically puts my items in ascending order. So right away I see that I have negative inventory. Now I have darn good counter people, but I really can't sell negative inventory. So there's an issue here, and I know that. So I'm going to double-click again, and now it shows me everything in descending order. So I have pretty low quantities, and all of a sudden they pop up pretty high for some of these items. Here again are my exceptions. I wonder if they're right. Now I did it for quantity on hand. Let's do the same thing for average cost. I have some pretty low average costs here, but really not many quantity on hands. I mean, I should check this, but it's not as off as I was in my quantities. But let me check again, and my gosh, I have some quantities here I don't have any cost for at all. Here are my exceptions. I need to investigate these. There may not be a darn thing wrong with it, but until I check it, I don't know. So one of the things I'm going to question, I'm going to go back to putting these quantities up here. I wonder if that quantity is correct. So we're also going to build the viewer the way you might think of it when you see something you challenge. I'm going to right-click on the header again, go look at the columns. Whoops, I'm sorry. Select my columns to view, and I want to look at some date information. So I'm hitting the letter D to get down to some dates. I'm really curious, when's the last time the physical was taken on this? How do I know if that's a correct number? Wonder when's the last time I sold it or received it. Again, I'm curious. So let's select those columns. Well, I think there's probably a good reason to be concerned about the count being correct. I've had sales in this, it's been some 4 years old since I've had sales, 5, 6 years old, and yet I've never counted it. Makes me wonder. So now I've decided I think I want one of the guys to go check the stock. So I could, save the view, go back over to his desk, call it back up, and repopulate it. Or I can do something even easier. Way over on the right-hand column, I have a little X to export. So I'm going to click on the export key, and that quickly, I just took that information out of the Eagle and dropped it over here into Excel. So I didn't have to go in and reformat it, save it as a text file, go in and reformat it, do all the things that you may have to do now in order to get that information into what I'm going to call a generic program, taking it out of your system and putting it into something that's a very common program to anyone. All I did was click Export, and now I can use the power of Excel to take it, do some more analysis if I want to, send it off to one of the guys, print it out so they can do a count on it. I've made it generic. Now that's great to get the information out of the system that way, but I also can import changes back into the system from this spreadsheet. So if I needed to change some descriptions, or perhaps I wanted to do some coding to it, I could make those changes because they're in Excel, and then in another video we're going to see how I can import that back into the system. So the exporting capability, again, not only in inventory, but also I could do this with customer information. I could do this with some of my my other inventories. Maybe I'm looking at a different line, looking at different bits of information. It's real easy just to say, with a click of the button, let's get it out of this system and into my Excel program. So that's all the more I'm going to spend on the viewers right now, but it is a huge tool to the Eagle system, and it will take maybe 10, 15 minutes to become a pretty good pro on it. Read only. I can't write it back to mess up any of the information. It's probably, again, the most powerful tool we have and the most flexible. So many ways you can get good use out of it. Well, thank you again for listening to this video on viewers. I hope you'll join us for some more videos in the near future. Here's the information if you need to contact us, and I hope to talk to you soon.